Good evening everybody and welcome to another edition of the Sim Raceway Sunday Race-Off. You join us live here tonight from Lime Rock Park for the first qualifying session of the evening. We have two races for you tonight, so not just the one as per usual, a special tweet if you will. So we have of course the first division and the second one, so the top 15 drivers will all do battle within the next hour. We will then go to a short 1 hour break, and then the next lot of drivers from position 16 to 30th throughout the Sunday Race-Off will collide, do battle around Lime Rock Park in the Jetta TDIs. My name is Liam Jenkins and I'll be calling all the action for you tonight as you join us live in this qualifying session. So the very interesting point about these cars is, again, we saw the matchup last week where road cars take on the motorsport circuits, and the combination was extremely interesting to say the least. We saw plenty of antics, plenty of accidents, variation in driving style, some more aggressive than others, some unfortunately, meaning that races ended prematurely. But this time around we're going to see something a bit different. These cars are a little bit slower, but the track itself, for anyone who hasn't driven it or those who've driven it in other sims, it's exactly the same here. Probably the most unforgiving circuit that we've visited so far. There are just so many corners which can catch you out. The main one, of course, being around turn 4 when you come over the crest of that hill and the car goes weightless for around half a second. If you don't land on the back wheels first, you don't land in a straight line, you're unfortunately going to end up colliding into that concrete wall, and it's going to be a very upsetting experience to say the least. But qualifying, here we go then, so just waiting to see who can get themselves on pole position at the moment. Pro Drifter 10 is the man currently setting the pace. There's no Razor at the moment, so we're interested to see if he can pop his nose in later, or maybe he's in the second race of the evening. But nonetheless, it's opened the doors for all guys like Dino Speed, like Matrox 213, AGO6 is there, Ras 101, Van Panther, Sam Wise, so plenty of regular names here around the Sunday Race-Off looking to make an impression. This circuit, again, very strict on overtaking. You see Samwise there going over the top of the hill, taking it very tidily, drifting out wide, and then getting ready to turn across, fling the car to the right to catch the apex, and be careful not to catch too much grass on the exit there. But this track's very, very narrow. There's not really any overtaking opportunities that I can think of, despite turn 1 and 2. Apart from that, you've got to put something on the line. There's nowhere where if you do go for a move, you're guaranteed to pass. There's always that risk of ending up on the grass or ending up in the wall. Even turn 1, if you're on the outside there, there's a massive, massive gravel trap and grass trap, if you will, which can send you flinging off into the barriers. You've got to work all the way around turn 1 and feed back out into turn 2 to try and get the car back on track. But for now, it's a new man at the top of the time sheet, that's Severio. And he's doing very quickly at the moment. He's currently in second place by Mr. Pro Drifter 10, Ras 101 third, and Dino Stars fourth. So second, third, and fourth regular names. Severio, well, an impressive rookie run it seems so far. We'll have to see what he can bring to the table as the session wears on. It's a 15-minute session, which means there's unlimited laps. It's open quali, so it's not the pressure of a one-lap quali we've seen in the past here, which does allow some freedom. If you do make a mistake, you know that you're going to be able to get back on the track and hopefully improve your lap time. So it's not the be-all end-all if the opening few minutes don't go to plan. We should have to see what happens as the session wears on, and more importantly, how the cars handle, because it depends if you want to go for a few short stints or one really long stint to get those tyres heated up, to get those engines heated up. It really is going to come down to the master of the car, the master of the setup, the master of everyone really around this circuit who can get everything underway. Okay, so sorry for the interference there. So just actually correcting a mistake from earlier, that this is actually the lowest split of tonight's races. So the regulars we were talking about, Dino Stars RAS 101, guards of that Van Panther aren't in the top split, which means there's been some dramatic improvements throughout the field. So, of course, Razor and the top tier guys will be competing in around 2 hours' time. But for now, you're taking a look at the hungry guys who are looking to make a name for themselves and really take home the smaller prizes, but nonetheless a prize and definitely some motivation to get themselves in towards the top split next weekend. And they're going to have some tough competition because regular Pro Drifter still tops the time sheet by 500 to the second. So he's still very close to say the least. Severio now second, and 500 behind him is Matrox 213. So a very close session already here, and we've still got a few moments to go before the full session gets underway, and we have a 10-minute warm-up for the drivers to wind down. Well, their drivers starting there in between lap 4 and 6 at the moment. But actually, one thing I've just noticed is that the attrition rate so far in qualifying has been very low. We haven't seen too many mistakes. I was expecting to see at least a couple of spins or a couple of guys going wide, but so far it's been very clean, very collected, very calm. And that's what this circuit requires. You cannot go into this circuit realising that you have to give it your all, because as soon as you touch that limit, there's a very fine line between driving the best lap of your life and retiring from the qualifying session or the race. And this is the worst track to do that impossible, because it's just really difficult to try and get one lap together, let alone a class, fast, aggressive lap together. So that's why we're seeing maybe some more cautious driving here from some of the drivers in the field. But nonetheless, there's nothing cautious about RAS 101's time. He's just gone fastest at the moment, and he currently tops the timesheets, and he's 700 to the second quicker than Pro Drifter 10, so barely anyone separating those two at the moment. Those two know each other very well from the first division of the Sunday race-off. They'll be hoping to return to their previous form next weekend, but for now, they've got each other close company who looks like, to say the least. If they do look out the front row of the grid, there's Dido Styles moving out of the way of RAS 101 there. Dido, I was a little bit further down the field. He would love to be up there fighting with the big boys, but he's currently P4 in front of P Leo and Van Panther in P6, so they really want to try and break into that top 5. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can achieve that during the race. It'll be half the distance of the official race in the first division, so it's a little bit less on almost like a feature series into the official Sunday race-off live. And right now, all the guys, as we say, maintaining composure, keeping that driving physical state there, and it's just great to see. You can see Severio at the moment coming under a bit of pressure from Bounty, Shadow Bounty, as they come in towards the hill. Now, this is really interesting, seeing these two following for the past 2 laps out, and there's been no attempt past, purely because they've got no room to do so. Unless there's a mistake from the car in front, you're going to find it very hard to make a pass or even find an opportunity, because this track is so narrow, you do not have anywhere to pass unless there's a car gone wide, or he's touched the grass or the gravel and unfortunately gone for a spin. So we're going to see a lot of pack racing here this afternoon, but for qualifying it's all about trying to get that optimum lap, and for now Severio has just not been able to put it together. And saying that, he's only 3 tenths off of, well, 1.25 tenths off of the leader at the moment. So it's at 0.35 that leads the timesheets by RAS 101. But, however, 500th of a second was in Pro Drifter 10. Now, that's faster than you can blink. So Severio really is on the edge at the moment. Just one corner, he takes a slightly tighter line or brakes a little bit later, could really be the be-all end-all. He could find himself in the front row of the grid or the second row of the grid. But then he's got a couple more opportunities to do so before that gets underway. And then we'll go into the warm-up session to maybe accommodate yourself with what's going to happen here, and maybe, more importantly, how the drivers around you are going to react. But of course, the interesting thing about this second race is that it's going to be very interesting. As I say, I keep using the word interesting, but I'm genuinely excited about this. It's a new talent here, a new talent pool, if you will, all looking to jump out, see what they can do, bring something new to the table before we go into the race, to try and get themselves in that racing spirit, to get that motivation, that determination that all sim racers carry, to say, I want to be the best, I've won in Division 2, let's get to the Optimum Division, and that's where they want to be today. Severio looking to be the outsider here, because you've got the 2 regulars from the first division in first and second. Dido Styles, our rookie from a few weeks back at Watkins Glen, and RAS 101, a very regular. Oh, the drifter there almost took the wall. Another regular there going over the crest of that hill. It's a much quicker line when you go over that hill, but you've got a very high risk of clipping the wall, and then that does unfortunately leave you a bit out of pocket for the next couple of turns, because you'll be slightly offline. You have to turn in sharper, the car has less downforce, and there's a big risk that you can lose it. But nonetheless, so far, Pro Drifter currently 3rd position, pushed Severio down to 4th, begins his 10th lap of the afternoon. Got to say, and he's looking pretty strong out there right now. As you can see, a flurry of cars all come down the straight, all very much so in close proximity. So just some stats for them. Supposed to be 30 laps, so we're going to see in the top split, to say the least. You've got 15 races, 15 laps, but that's still 105 corners, and it's almost half the prize pool that we're normally used to seeing. So still quite a lot to play for. What it's mainly about, they're trying to show they can get there, because one of these guys will be 16th out of 30, and you need to be in the top 15. As you can see, that's a car gone wide there taking the gravel trap. But how you've got to be in the top 15 out of 30 to get in that top split. If you're 16th, and that's such a demotivator, because you could have been 100th of a second away from being in the top split with the big boys of Sim Raceway fighting for the big prizes, and it's just so demotivating. But they've got to utilise that energy and turn that into just sheer aggression, and just making sure they've got everything it takes underneath that Jetta to take a victory here today. So we've got a few new faces as well. So taking a look at the man in 15th at the moment, Schumacher, Jekyll 66, 14th, Samwise a bit of a regular, No Fear C in 12th, Ice Cube 55, Hippie in P10, takes a bit of a hippie route over the curb there through turn 1, gets it back on very nicely. Van Panther down in P9, that's very uncharacteristic from him. We're used to seeing him maybe fighting for a top 10, top 5 even in Division 1 sometimes. To see him 9th in Division 2, that would sit him roughly around 20th out of the 30 drivers, and that's not where he wants to be at all, is it? He would love to be in that top 10, but for now he's got to do what he's got and see what he can bring to the table during the race, because qualifying isn't everything. You don't win a race by starting first on the grid, although it can provide some very helpful entrances into turn 1, because turn 1 is not the most ideal starting corner of a race indeed, and we'll see that as the race begins later on. It's a very sharp right-hander. If you're left on the outside line, there is a very high risk you will go off, especially in packs of 10 cars or more, and with 15 Jettas flying in there, I'm sure we're going to see some inevitable fireworks. But the question is, who's going to be the one setting off the rockets? There's only one way to find that out, and that's to wait for this qualifying session to end. It's still Pro Drifter 10, who tops the timesheets at the moment. So he's had a great run so far. It was third last time we saw him. He's now 300ths of a second quicker than RAS 101. So the current top three at the top of the timesheets as the session will end in about 1 minute, as you will see from race control. So Pro Drifter 10, 300ths of a second, 0.032 to be exact. Dido Stars, 0.037. Now that's incredible, that's absolutely incredible. That's more than 10,000 of seconds, separate 5,000 of a second, separating second and third position. That just shows how competitive this race series is. And if that was the same between, P16 and P15, we're going to see some great racing this afternoon. So the session almost draws to a close now. The curtains close and we get ready for the encore to begin. The warm-up before the race. It sounds like the pre-race show here, and the drivers a chance to wind down, and maybe we're going to see a sign of things come. Are the winds of change going to blow? Are our potential archetypes going to be blown out of the water? We do expect some off track, some cars maybe going a bit wide, some bits of contact here and there, and a lot of pack racing and minimal overtaking. But are we going to be proven wrong? And are we going to see that during the warm-up session? Are we going to see a few drivers risking it, maybe learning to see the man who they're starting next to on the grid, how he approaches turn 1 on the defensive line, how he approaches on the attacking line? There's a lot to think about in a warm-up session, and we're going to see some interesting variations on mentality as we get into that as the session draws to a close. The final car's coming across the line. Severio in his first race then in Division 2 qualifies in a P6 provisionally. Shadow Bounty P7. You can see the rest of the field coming in towards the end of their line. Van Panther's not on a lap at the moment. RAS 101, the only man currently on track, I believe. To get ready for the rest of the field to bring the cars home. Severio trying to be the last man on track to do that at the moment, it seems. And Panther's also still out there fighting strong, as is No Clear C. But nonetheless, it has been Pro Drifter 10 who takes pole position from second place RAS 101 by 0.03 seconds. 300th of a second separate them. That is just incredible. 3,000th of a second separate second and third place. This could not get closer. So we get ready for a 10-minute warm-up session, and then I set on the prize for these drivers this afternoon. They know exactly what they want, and that was to be standing on the very top step of the podium, and more importantly for them, claiming themselves a nice cash prize. $14 for the winner. Second place will receive $9, third place $6, fourth $4, five $3, 6, 2, and all the way down to 1. So fifth place still gets $1. It's not the greatest prize in the world, but it's Christmas. It's the time for giving and not receiving, and they'll be hoping to give out some more aggressive overtaking manoeuvres to get themselves firmly slid in those bigger points positions. Okay, so we're getting ready to race, ladies and gentlemen. We're sorry for the technical difficulties as the cars get ready to line up on the grid. It will be the one and the only time these drivers get for tonight. Pro Jetta lines up on the grid in pole position, then RAS 101, then it's Dido Stars in third position, 10 seconds before the race go. AGO 6S starts just behind them in P4. It's 5 seconds to go before those lights illuminate. 15 cars, 15 laps, one winner. Who's it gonna be? The engines roar, the adrenaline rushes, and the pedal hits the floor, and away we go. At Limewell Park once again is a great start there by Pro Drifter 1. Ras trying to look around the outside now. He won't be able to make his stick through there. The field pile in towards that very tight first apex, and he can still ready. He's been left hanging out to dry. That has to sneak back in as the rest of the field scramble their way through. No casualties as of yet. So still looking very good as the rest of the field come in towards turn 2 and 3. So the question is, who's going to come out on top? We can see a bit of Archie Bargy going in the back there. I believe that was Hippie actually getting himself in the middle of that one. You can see just in front there is Jekyll 66, no fierce. I'm trying to go round the outside of the hill. That's never going to work. The P10 then maybe contact. Great racing etiquette by both of them. I don't know how he makes some mistakes. The same can't be said for Paul Samwise in P14. He tried to overtake Hippie, but it wasn't to be. But back at the front, we come towards the end on now of the first lap. The field come on to the home straight. Pro Jetta leads the cavalry at the end of lap 1. RAS 101 comes second, Dido Stars third, Matrox 4, AGO 6 in fifth, and Severio 6. Shadow Bounty trying to defend hard to P7 now against Van Panther. But will he be able to make this one stick? These three looking back down themselves. Severio and Van Panther. And it's time for turn 2. Okay, so sorry about that, my connection unfortunately did drop, so all we do in the live stream, so unfortunately there will be a little bit of a commentary delay, but nonetheless I shall do my best to bring you all the action live here from Lime Rock Park in 5B of the Sunday race-off. I'll just quickly wait for my internet to kick back in once again, but nonetheless it was a very exciting opening couple of laps, very clean. There was only a couple of minor incidents, there was no real argy-bargy from what I witnessed, the rest of the field making their way through very cleanly. So hats off to all the drivers. We'll be hoping they can maybe try to keep that for the rest of the race. I didn't want to jinx it or put a commentator's curse on it, but it did look very promising. So the field come across the line and once again to end another lap, and it's still Pro Drifter in the lead of this one at the moment. He's done a great job leading from the start of the race, and he's just never looked back since. Right now he's going to really try and keep his focus, because you can see there on your screen at the moment Van Panther is P8 trying to hunt down Shadow Bounty in P7. And he's not going well, is it? Right now he tries at the inside there, got a little bit sideways there, unfortunately for him, and he gets unfortunately there on the grass. That's a consequence of going for a manoeuvre of that stature. Never quite pays off here. We've always come up to a quarter of the way through the race, and now that will maybe allow P. Leo to get himself on the back of that rear end and maybe even challenge for P8. We'll have to see what he can do as they head into turn 1 once again. Does he get to the inside? He's a bit too far away as they swoop through now, getting ready for turn 2. Oh, he's off, Van Panda's off, he's in the grass, and he's spun at turn 1, and he's actually returned to the pit lane. And unfortunately for Van Panda, a bad race has just gone worse, and it was looking so much more promising for him. He just overcut the car, and unfortunately for him, it's race over. So it hasn't been his weekend at all. Not only is he not in the top 15, he's now not in the race at all, so he'll be able to try and have a much stronger weekend next time out. But for now, our attention turns once again to the front three. Ras 101, Dino Stars and Pro Drifter. Pro leading them at the moment, Dino coming under. Very nice driving styles at the moment. He's really trying to apply that pressure on the back of Ras 101. They come across the line now to start another lap. So it'll be lap 6 of 15. And he still can't quite get that manoeuvre done yet. He's still trying to search for more. You've got to be very patient around this circuit. Patient is the word, because the last thing you want to do is bend the car in the wall. We've seen so many incidents before. I think Van Panta, that was just a prime example. You get on the wrong line, you get on the dirty side of the racetrack, and only bad things can happen. You've really got to wait for your opponent to make the first error and then capitalise on it, and that's what Dino has to do now. We've seen in previous weeks he's a very composed, very calm driver. We'll see what he can bring here to Lime Rock Park in the Jetta TDIs. However, Dino now is starting to slowly reel him in. You look back through the rest of the field, there is Severio, very shallow bounty, still drilling away, gets a little bit wide on that final corner, down the straight they come again. They can see Dino battling just up in front, and they're just behind the rest of the field looping now. We did say earlier on that pack racing is going to be a very key feature of this race, and so far that seems to be the key, doesn't it? Because there's been a few packs now just slowly separating out. You've got Pro Drifter in front, then Dino Stars joining over with Ras in 2nd and 3rd place. Then you've got the battle here for 5th and 6th, the one for 4th just behind it. And then you've got Shadow Bounty there as well, just behind. We did have Van Panta on the tail end of that one, so that would have really been pack racing. Unfortunately, Van Panta has departed. Pete Leo is in his own race at the moment, just in front of Jekyll, who's hitting his own train, it seems, at the moment, through Jekyll Junction, I think we'll call that corner now. So you can see Samwise Hippie all just behind him, trying to scramble for position. Almost like a long ride, is it? It's almost like a NASCAR race. You don't really want to try and chance an overtaking manoeuvre, because you know that something's going to happen if you don't be 110% committed that that move is going to work. And it's going to get very, very interesting, I think, now, because everyone's got to be on their toes. They've got to start worrying. We're over halfway into this race now. The order remains unchanged, effectively, and we haven't seen too many overtaking manoeuvres. And if this does stay the same, we'll get to maybe, I think, lap 11 or 12, and the drivers will have to start thinking outside the box. If they don't start doing this, I don't think it's going to lead to bad things, because you're going to be stuck behind that dirty air, the car's going to lose downforce, you'll lose grip, you'll get frustrated as seeing the rear end of the same car for 15 laps, and it's not going to do you as a driver any good. You really do need to be on the edge of your toes, waiting for that mistake, or maybe not trying to force a mistake as such, but maybe just trying to stick your nose in a few corners now, perhaps turn one, try and get the inside line a bit, knowing you're not going to make the move stick. But just put your car there and see how the car in front of you reacts. So, for instance, now they come down the straight. If Dino maybe just broke a little bit later, put his car on the inside of the circuit and see how Ras reacted. If he ran wide, not so much a dive bomb, but almost like he backs out of the dive bomb, like he chances it. A bit of mind-muffing here, a bit of Russian roulette, if you will, in terms of racing. We'll call it racing roulette, I think, to say the least. It's all about calling the bluff of the car in front of you, and it really can get very tense indeed. You've seen Shadow Bounty trying to do that at the moment, trying to catch out Severio, who's done a sterling first job. Both of these guys have done a good job today in 6th and 7th respectively. They'll see if they can maybe maintain that one a bit later on and see where they finish in the end of the race. But there's Matrox, P4, AGO6, P5. Those two getting very cozy now together. And again, very respectable racing. We aren't seeing too many risky manoeuvres, so, but he does get very close to the top of the hill. Careful not to lose it there, and get ready for the next corner, because he is so loose coming out the top of the hill. I think the prime example will be a skip barber car or a Formula 3 car in Edenton Raceway, and that can be a consequence of the dirty air. AGO6 took a bit of gravel, if it seems. He took a bit too much curve going in towards the penultimate corner. Down the straight they come once again, and he's just not been able to get it done, has he? He cannot get in the back of that car, because these cars are not built, once again, for motorsport circuits. They're built for going down motorways or going into the next town to visit your friend. They're not designed to be down 120 miles an hour. As you can see, we're back on the way again. I can't apologise enough for the technical difficulties we're having at the moment. And again, so sorry, I'm back here. It seems on the final lap, just in time for the finish as Jekyll crosses the line. But it was Pro Drifter 10 who took the victory. And again, I can't apologise enough for the technical problems filled with this broadcast this afternoon. But by the sounds of it and the excitement in the chat rooms, that the racing was surely something to make up for that one. Some great racing here. The track and car combination once again proving to be a vital combo. And there you can see AGO6 crosses the line to pick up $1 nonetheless. So that is the end of the fast race here this afternoon. Don't go anywhere. In an hour's time, we'll bring you just a repeat of this one, but with the top 15 fastest drivers of the week. And they'll be racing right here in Lime Rock in the same cars for 30 laps and double the prize pool. So it's one race you won't want to miss, and hopefully one race where my connection stays reliable. So thank you all for watching. I apologise once again.